There we go. The next question in this playlist on inequalities is this one. You see, and as promised, making those inequality questions rain, because I mean, yeah, this kind of things used to give me problems, but the moment I figured them out, yeah, so happy, because yeah, these things, yeah, sometimes they'll make you think you belong in the streets because they chow. But we are, sorting that out bit by bit. So a question like this one in an exam is literally a 4-mark question. Now it looks as though there's a lot going on, and I kind of get that. Now this question keeps saying now we need to start. So this question, right? We have two equations. We have a hyperbola. You see, a hyperbola is two curves, but it's one graph. We have an hyperbola there, and we have a parabola, a negative parabola. Now the idea with our hyperbola is that, you see, our x asymptote is at -1 there, and then our y asymptote is at +4 there, you see. So the equation here is like x is equal to -1, y is equal to +4. Now obviously for like full-blown tutorials on like functions and graphs individually, you can just look at the functions and graphs playlist. So with this question in particular, right, this is what we have. We have two graphs, frowning parabola and then a positive hyperbola. With these two graphs, this is the question, point blank, work this out. They basically stated the question in this manner. There we go. That's what they asked. We're working on a functions and graphs question, as in within the past paper, right? It was like a functions and graphs question, and then you go, and then right at the end, for which values of x will this expression be smaller or equal to 0? That's what the question wants you to work out. It wants you to give x values within your Cartesian plane where this expression is a value. You get where this expression is a value that is smaller or equal to 0. Now we need to take this bit by bit, nice and slow, because Biki, Macmir, that's something a friend of mine always used to say. But anyways, with questions like these, right, it's quite similar to the first video in this playlist, because this is a playlist, by the way, if you're not aware. If you're aware. So why do I keep off ramping? I think it's because of all the videos I've been making in my other channel, the past papers channel. It's called Metric Maths Past Papers. So with that other channel, I basically go through like full-blown papers, like from start to finish, the whole thing, like, question 1, solve for x, question 11, probability, like that, the whole paper, from start to finish in one full video, and I upload those on my other channel, my past papers channel. So if you want to go through full-blown papers from start to finish and all that, why do I keep doing this? If you want to go through past papers from start to finish and all that shandies, then there's a channel for that. Like, dope, right? I know. You're welcome. I'm kidding. So with this question, they said, for which values of x will this expression be smaller or equal to 0? So this is a fraction. You see, a fraction will be smaller or equal to 0 if one of two scenarios occur. We'll just look at those two scenarios, and then we will cap it off by explaining where this comes in. You see, because this is smaller or equal to 0, not just smaller than 0. You see, but the smaller or equal to 0 part, that's minor. You see, that's something we can explain towards the end. So for now, for which values of x will this expression be smaller or equal to 0? This is a fraction. A fraction will be smaller or equal to 0 if the top part is a negative while the bottom part is a positive. If this is how your fraction is laid out, this value could potentially be smaller or equal to 0. You see, we know that it will only be equal to 0 if the top is a 0, but we said we'll deal with that later on. For now, the main chunk is remembering that for a fraction to be smaller or equal to 0, it needs to be laid out in this manner. Either the top has to be negative and the bottom has to be positive, or the top has to be a positive while the bottom is a negative. You see, these are the two scenarios that we need to look out for on our sketches. You see, we want to look out for cases where the top graph is a negative while the bottom one is a positive. And we want to look for the reverse scenario. We want to look for cases where the top one has positive y values, while the bottom one has negative y values. Now, just to expand on what I've mentioned now, we know that f of x represents y values of f of x. G of x represents y values of g. You see, don't forget that. Our question is laid out in that manner. We want to look for cases within our Cartesian plane where we have negative y values for f while having positive y values for g. And we want to look out for cases where we have positive y values for f while having negative y values for g. Now, in word or in words, that's just like, it's just floating, like, make it make sense type of thing, like, come on now. So I'm about to make it make sense. Hold up. So to start off, it says here, for which values of x will this thing be smaller? So we need to deal with this scenario first. You see, we want to look out for cases where the top is a negative while the bottom is a positive. As in, we want to look out for cases where f of x is a negative value or has negative y values while g of x has positive y values. So firstly, let's see here. Portions where f of x has negative y values. Let's look for that. The portions where this has negative y values is there, you see. F of x has negative y values here. Only, like legit. Now, portions where our graph of g has positive y values within this space, none, you see. I'll repeat. With questions like these, right, you need to look at your Cartesian plane in portions, you see. So we said we should start off with cases where y values of f are a negative. And these are the only y values of f that are negative. These y values going all the way to negative infinity. Now, while this is occurring, we don't have within this space positive y values for g. You see, because the only positive y values for g are here anyways. You see, those are not, this scenario is not occurring in the same space. It's not occurring within the same interval of x values, you see. So in a nutshell, there is no scenario where this is occurring. So that's not going to form part of your solutions, you see. And again, that's how we have many examples here, so that bit by bit you get to see the idea, or you get to feel the vibe. Snap. Ooh, this is what happens when you watch way too many South African YouTubers. I don't know if you know, like, who are those guys? The boys, chilling with the boys. Yeah, it's just weird, but yeah. Well, those are just some of the cool YouTube channels in this space. You can check them out if you want to. Anyways, so yeah, this scenario here is invalid. There's no portion within our sketch where the y values of f are a negative while the y values of g are positive. There's no interval where they are both occurring in this manner. So this is not valid. When you look at the bottom though, you see, the bottom is asking us, where do you see positive y values for f while you have negative y values for g? You see, so we can start with the top first. Where do we see positive y values for f? Well, there are positive y values over here, and then these are all positive y values. We can see it. We have eyes. Thank you, Lord, very much. Thank you for the eyes that we have, because they help us see. And everything else that we have, like our legs, our arms. Why am I off ramping? Chill, dude. Back to the tutorial. So we wanted to work out we wanted to show where f of x is a positive y value. You see, f of x is a positive y value here. These are all positive y values for f. These are all positive y values for f. Now we want to map out where you have positive y values for f while having negative y values for g. You see, so cases where we have negative y values for g, well, technically, see, that's where you're having negative y values for g. So literally with our question, right, we just have to compare where we have positive y values for f while having negative y values for g. So we can clearly see that that's occurring from here, whatever this x value is, which we will definitely need to work out. We'll just need to work that out quickly. So we know that our graph of f has positive y values, you see, on the blue parts. these are positive y values, these are positive y values. Our graph of G has negative y values here and here. So we want to map out a portion within our Cartesian plane where both scenarios are occurring at the same time, you see. So we said, firstly, let's just quickly get our x-intercepts in that as well. That's going to make our lives very, very simple. So let's quickly do that, and then we'll just finish off the question. So obviously, x-intercepts for G, that's just making y equal to 0 there. There we go. We have our x-intercepts for the graph of G. You see, 4 and 0. For F, same idea. We need to quickly just find out what is this x-intercept there for us to be able to properly answer our question. So getting x-intercept for your hyperbola there, it's just a matter of making y 0. So let's quickly do that over here. There we go. That kind of took a while, but you know, gotta do what you gotta do for those marks. You know, beggars are not choosers, because in that exam, hey, sometimes you're kind of begging, you know, like, please give me marks. Yeah, that's me. I'm not offering so much. So we have here our x-intercept, right? There we go. This is negative 3 over 2, positive 0. No, it's just a 0. 0, negative 3 over 2, we have a 0, and then we have a positive 4 there. Now we can easily answer our question. You may be asking yourself, why does it take so long? Like, my goodness, is there not like a shorter method or something? No. Like, literally, this is like the train of thought, you know. Over time, it becomes quicker in your head, you know. But you know, like, while explaining it, you kind of need to like lay it out bit by bit, bit by bit. Otherwise, you know, it's chai, and we don't play that game, you know. So anyways, here we said, where is the top part a positive while the bottom part is a negative? You see, where does the graph of F have positive y values while the graph of G has negative y values? Where is that occurring at the same time? So technically, I mean, the easiest portion to the first portion we can answer is looking at our sketch. You see, it doesn't matter if you look at it from left to right or from right to left, it doesn't matter. So we can see that our graph of F has positive y values, you see, while our graph of G has negative y values, starting here, going all the way to positive infinity. That's the one portion of our answer, you see. So the first portion of our answer, we basically have to state there that x, you see, our x values need to be bigger than 4, you see. And I'll explain why I have said here x is bigger than 4 and why I have not said x is bigger or equal to 4. So here's why. So you see, first portion of our answer, we said here, this is going to be valid where x is bigger than 4. Now, we know that at 4, like specifically at 4, can you see that the graph of G is equal to 0? You see, so at 4, it means that the bottom here would be equal to 0. We don't want that, you see, because that would make the whole expression undefined. So this is basically us saying that x needs to be bigger than 4. You know, we are not including the 4, because at 4, your graph of G is a 0. You see, that would cause a problem in your expression. So here we have to say x is bigger than 4 and not x is bigger or equal to 4. You see, this is the 0.0001% times where you can see that this has this here, but then a portion of your answer does not. You see, you just want to look out for cases like that, you know. So that's the first portion of our answer. Our inequality is going to be smaller or equal to 0 where x is bigger than 4. You see, because from where x is a 4 going all the way to the right, your graph you see here will always have positive y values, and our graph here will always have negative y values, you see. So this expression will be satisfied. Now we need to look some more, you see. If we look at this portion of our picture going to the left, you see, literally from this portion of our picture going all the way to negative infinity rather. If you look carefully, you see, our graph of G has negative y values here. Let me extend this asymptote here. You see, if you look nicely, our graph of G has negative y values here, you see, while our graph of F has positive y values there. You see, so this is another portion that has to be noted in our answer. You see, this expression, your graph of G has negative y values there, while this has positive y values there. You see, that's the interval from 0 until negative 1. You see, because this value is negative 1, this value is 0. So we have to give answers for that portion as well, you see. So to give answers for that portion, we clearly have to say that our x values need to be smaller than 0, or our x values need to be bigger than negative 1. If I said positive 1 by mistake, oops, it's a negative 1 there, you see. X needs to be smaller than 0, or x needs to be bigger than negative 1. So far, these are our three portions of our answer, you see. X needs to be bigger than 4, or x needs to be smaller than 0, or x needs to be bigger than negative 1, you see. And here we have the x needs to be smaller than 0, or x needs to be bigger than negative 1, without including the 0 and without including the negative 1, because firstly, at negative 1, that's an asymptote, so that's out of the picture. Secondly, at 0, the graph of G is equal to 0, you see. So if the bottom here is equal to 0, that would be an invalid answer. So that's why we have to make sure that we do not include the 0 and we do not include the negative 1 there. So you see, those are two sets of answers so far. We have said x needs to be bigger than 4. Here we've said x needs to be smaller than 0 or bigger than negative 1, because of that portion here where you have negative y values for G while having positive y values for F. You see, we still need to give other portions where this inequality is going to be satisfied. And those other portions, or that other portion, is literally, if you check, you see here you have positive y values for F. You see, you have positive y values there. And then if you look nicely, your graph of G is going to have negative y values all the way to negative infinity. So from the top right, our graph of F has positive y values here. We can see that it's starting off at negative 3 over 2. You see, from negative 3 over 2 going all the way to the left. That's a portion where both our graph of G and our graph of F, that's a portion where the graph of F has positive y values while the graph of G has negative y values. You see, from negative 3 over 2 going all the way to negative infinity. You see, so in terms of putting that or adding that to our answers, you basically just have there x needs to be smaller than or equal to negative 3 over 2. And I'll explain why here we have put x needs to be smaller or equal to negative 3 over 2. So firstly, we know that at negative 3 over 2, the graph of F is equal to 0. You see, so the top will be equal to 0 anyways. So if the top is equal to 0, the whole thing is equal to 0. So that qualifies for our inequality. And then all x values that are going to be smaller than negative 3 over 2, those also qualify, you see. So that's why here our answer from this x value going all the way to the left, we have to say there our x values need to be smaller or equal to negative 3 over 2. So for this question, yeah, this is like a proper, I wouldn't say it's a level 5 question. I would say maybe level 4, maybe 5 to start off, if like, you know, inequalities are not like your friend or anything. But over time, this is how you want to tackle questions like these.